The Black Panther has been the protector of Wakanda for generations. So I ask you, as both warrior and king, how long do you think you can keep your friends safe from me?
Azzuri the Wise. The name sounds like a legend told around a Wakandan fire because it is. Before T'Challa, before T'Chaka, before the world knew what vibranium even meant, there was a king who guarded a secret nation in the most dangerous century of modern history. Today, we're pulling back the curtain on T'Challa's grandfather, what he stood for, who he fought, and how his choices shaped everything Wakanda and the Black Panther mantle would become. Start with the basics. Let's talk about names, because Wakandan lore can be messy if you're reading across decades. Azzuri is T'Challa's grandfather and T'Chaka's father. Some older stories called T'Challa's grandfather Chanda, others Azari. Later work settled on Azzuri, and even clarified that T'Chanda is his birth name, while Azzuri the Wise is his regnal name, his kingly title. It's a classic comics situation. Time passes, creative teams change, and canon tightens. The through line is simple. This is the same man, the World War II era Black Panther, who defended Wakanda when the world was on fire. If you see T'Chanda, Azari, or Azzuri the Wise, they all refer to T'Challa's grandfather. Azuri the Wise wore the Panther habit in the World War II era, ruling alongside his wife, Queen Nanali, while raising two sons. T'Chaka, the heir to the Wakandan throne, and Cian, the younger brother of Chaka, who would also one day wear the mask. That family tree matters, because the way Azzuri parents his boys, it has made them tough, principled, fiercely protective, and this attribute has echoed through the entire royal line. You can't understand Azzuri without understanding his job description. Black Panther is king and protector. The protector part is literal. Azzuri drank the heart-shaped herb, which sharpened his senses and pushed his body beyond normal human limits. But he wasn't a flashy superhero. Think General and Guardian more than Celebrity Avenger. He preferred quiet borders, controlled information, and decisive force if anyone threatened Wakanda's people or its vibranium. In simple terms, he kept the door locked, the lights off, and the guard dogs trained because outside powers had a habit of calling help while reaching for Wakanda's resources. The World War II years made that philosophy feel non-negotiable. The Nazis weren't just villains in a movie to Azzuri. They were a real army sweeping across continents. And to them, Wakanda's vibranium was the ultimate war prize. When a Nazi force probed Wakanda's border, Azzuri didn't issue warnings over a loudspeaker. He neutralized the threat, fast and brutally. He then sent a message the old-fashioned way. Heads on spikes along the borders. It's grim, but it's also clarity. Wakanda was not a victim, and Azzuri was not asking for permission to defend it. Before that, naive Azzuri had to learn the hard way why his ancestors did not trust the outsider. During the chaos of World War II, Nazi officer and ruthless mercenary Colonel Klaw led a mission to Wakanda in Africa to regain Adolf Hitler's favor. Unlike many others, Klaw knew about Wakanda's vibranium. For the Nazis, vibranium was the ultimate prize, a metal that could reshape the balance of war. If Germany got its hands on it, they could build weapons beyond anything the Allies or even Captain America could stop. But fate turned against him. Klaw's plane caught fire over Wakandan skies, and that crash-landed within the borders of the hidden nation, leaving him as the only survivor. Though an outsider, the reigning Black Panther, Azzuri the Wise, took him in. Wakanda's old ways demanded hospitality to the wounded, even enemies. Klaw was nursed back to health, given shelter and food. But Klaw was not a man who valued kindness. From the moment he entered Wakanda, he was scheming. While recovering, Klaw studied Wakanda's spiritual culture. He saw how much the people revered Bast, the Panther god, and how deeply their king embodied that faith. Klaw realized that if he could replace their faith with his own false symbol, he could control the people from within. So he had a statue built, a false panther idol. Unlike the sacred and regal depictions of Bast, this idol was grotesque, twisted, and alien to Wakandan eyes. Klaw told the Wakandans they should bow to this idol, abandon their traditions, and embrace his way. It was a psychological weapon. If they gave up their panther, Wakanda's soul would break. But the people rejected him outright. Their loyalty to Bast and the Panther clan was absolute. Klaw's plan to corrupt Wakanda through belief had failed. Furious at being denied, Klaw turned to cruelty. He lashed out in rage and struck Wakanda at its heart. He shot and unalived Queen Anali, the beloved wife of Azzuri the Wise. This act of betrayal crossed every line of Wakandan law and spirit. For Azzuri, this was no longer about honor or diplomacy. It became personal. Klaw had violated the Panther, desecrated Wakanda's faith, and taken the Queen. Before facing Klaw, Azzuri, who was hiding in the thick jungles of Wakanda, drank the heart-shaped herb, which sharpened his senses and pushed his body beyond normal human limits. He killed a Black Panther that tried to kill him. By taking down the fiercest beast of the land, he was showing his people and his enemy that he embodied the Panther spirit fully. After killing it, Azzuri skinned the panther and wore its hide, draping himself in the animal's strength. This wasn't his usual ceremonial panther habit. This was raw, savage, a direct declaration of vengeance. Azzuri was no longer just king, he was death incarnate for Klaw. Azzuri confronted Klaw in brutal combat. Klaw by then had a steel prosthetic hand, which he wielded as a weapon. But Azzuri was faster, stronger, and fueled by fury. In a battle that Wakandans would whisper about for generations, Azzuri overpowered the Nazi invader. In the end, Azzuri ripped off Klaw's metal hand with his bare strength, maiming him permanently. Humiliated and broken, Klaw fled Wakanda. Colonel Klaw limped back to Europe in disgrace. But he never forgot Wakanda or its vibranium. He poisoned his son Ulysses Klaw with stories of the hidden nation, of its wealth, its secrets, and its barbaric king who had defeated him. Ulysses grew up obsessed, carrying his father's hatred as his own. This is why, decades later, Ulysses Klaw became Wakanda's greatest recurring enemy, ultimately invading, killing T'Chaka, Azzuri's son, and setting himself against T'Challa. The hatred between Wakanda and the Klaw line began not with Ulysses, but with Colonel Fritz Klaw's betrayal, false idol, and defeat at the hands of Azzuri the Wise. After his encounter with Klaw, Azzuri learnt his lessons and decided not to give any outsider the chance to see Wakanda. The Nazis who did want to give up came back with full force. Based on the information they had, they thought they were marching into just another African nation to conquer. Their plan was simple: overwhelm, enslave, and strip the land for its rumored resources. But Wakanda was not like any other land. It was hidden, protected, and ruled by King Azzuri the Wise, a man who had inherited not only the mantle of the Black Panther, but also Wakanda's oldest traditions of war and protection. Azzuri did not negotiate with the Nazis. He did not sit down for diplomacy. Instead, he struck them with fear before they even reached the heart of Wakanda. He ambushed them at the borders, his claws ripping through soldiers one by one. Wakandan warriors fell upon the invaders like shadows, silent and merciless. But Azzuri wanted more than just victory. He wanted to send a message. When the smoke cleared, Azzuri decapitated the fallen Nazis. Their heads were placed upon spikes, planted along the borders of Wakanda. Each head was a warning. This is what happens to outsiders who dare enter our land uninvited. It was a brutal but effective display. For generations, Wakanda had hidden itself from the world, and Azzuri was determined to keep it that way. But Azzuri was not done. In a deliberate act of psychological warfare, he left one Nazi soldier alive. He sent him back to his commanders, broken and terrified, carrying the story of what he had seen. It was after these bloody warnings that Captain America and the Howling Commandos entered Wakanda. Unlike the Nazis, they were not there to steal or conquer, but to investigate Nazi movements in Africa. But to Azzuri, an outsider was an outsider. So when he first encountered Steve Rogers, the Black Panther attacked him outright. They clashed, shield against claw, soldier against king. Only after their duel, when the truth became clear that Cap was fighting against the Nazis, did Azzuri relent. They became reluctant allies. From that moment, Azzuri and Captain America became unlikely allies. Alongside Sergeant Nick Fury and the Howling Commandos, they defended Wakanda from waves of Nazi attacks, including super soldiers enhanced by Red Skull's twisted science. This was the first time an outsider truly fought for Wakanda shoulder to shoulder with the Black Panther. Azzuri never fully trusted the outside world, but he came to respect Steve Rogers. He saw that Captain America was different from other foreigners. Not a conqueror, not a thief, but a warrior who valued justice. And in the middle of this chaos, there's a moment that shows you Azzuri's character. When Howling Commando Gabriel Jones saved the lives of T'Chaka and Cian during the fighting, Azzuri was so grateful he offered Jones Wakandan citizenship. Although Jones declined the offer tells you exactly who Azzuri respected. People who protected innocence without asking what was in it for them. So what made him the wise? Wisdom, in Azzuri's case, is not softness. It's the ability to know when to cooperate and when to close the gates. He refused to let even Captain America stroll into Wakanda simply because he wore a symbol. He didn't mistake Steve's nobility for a policy. When Azzuri finally fought alongside the Americans, it was because their goals aligned in that moment: defeat the Nazis and keep vibranium out of fascist hands. This is not because he had suddenly embraced global transparency. That's a vital difference. T'Challa in the modern era experiments with openness. Azzuri in the World War II era perfected containment. Both philosophies serve Wakanda, but they answer different dangers. But here's the twist. What if Marvel isn't done with him yet? Picture this. A flashback in Black Panther 3 showing Azzuri meeting Captain America during World War II. Or maybe Eyes of Wakanda Season 2, exploring his secret battles against Hydra. Even Phase 6 could use his story to connect Wakanda's past with the future of the Avengers. So I'll leave it to you. Do you want to see Azzuri the Wise step out of the comics and into the MCU? And if so, where should he appear first? In a Disney Plus series, a Black Panther sequel, or even a Captain America crossover? Let me know in the comments, because your answer might just spark the next big fan demand. And if this idea excites you as much as it excites me, hit that like button, subscribe, and stay tuned because we're diving deeper into the secrets Marvel hasn't told you yet.